is this? Hold on. Oh, well, never mind. Post removed. Someone else can repost it with another title, making it clear that it was a joke. Oh, was it a joke? Did he get clip chimped?
They're trying to say that the Democrats, the Democrat Party, they're trying to say that the Democrats are the patriots, the party that's worried about the country. They're wearing camo hats with Kamala Harris's name on it. Camouflage, that's ours. She was flanked in her speech last night by 2 American flags. There's no pride flag there. They're redefining it. They're going after our independent voters, the people who are leaning right, who want to vote right to save the country, but are starting to like what they're about. They're letting them redefine Kamala Harris and redefine the party. We waited too long. It's not right. The camo hats, I'm blown away.
Not the camo hats. Here is the XKC clip, LSF deleted. Run OBS as an admin? Doesn't it automatically? Actually, wait, I'm gonna try that real quick. I'm restarting my stream. Hopefully it doesn't end. 1 sec. Please don't crash when I close you and cause it to restart on everything. 1 sec. Okay.
The overriding feeling that you get from watching the DNC is these people are so pathetically fake, with fake joy. Joy, 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 joy. And it really is like Ren and Stimpy's happy, happy, joy, joy. And there's something peculiarly sinister about people telling you that there's just joy everywhere. It's just joy. So Kamala Harris led it off. She said,
as one people, we are moving forward.
We are moving forward, not back. Okay. Honestly, how precisely would you move back? How? Do you have a time machine? But don't worry, she's going to force the joy, because the joy will be enjoyed. Enjoy the joy.
I see the beauty of our great nation. People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision.
She is joy. She is a little bird breaking free from the egg. She sees the beauty of the nation. Oh my, wow. So much joy. Insane levels of joy. Do you feel the joy? It's joy. Remember, it's about the joy and the unity. The joy and unity of killing the old man so you can replace him with a fresh face. So, last night was supposed to be a unifying tribute night to Joe Biden as they shuffle him off his moral coil. You wonder why they got rid of Joe Biden? Well, one reason is that Joe Biden has no idea what in the hell is going on. Here's a live shot of Joe Biden who's hanging around the DNC. And somebody said, are you ready to pass the torch? Let's just say there were some internal struggles going on.
Are you ready to pass the torch? Yes, sir. I am.
By I am, he means I absolutely am.
Wait, what? He just answered the question. I thought we were going to see him stumble or stutter or something. Wait, what?
Are you ready to pass the torch? Yes, sir. I am.
By I am, he means I absolutely am not. Good for Joe Biden. He committed political suicide by shooting himself in the head 8 times, in the back of the head, and then
political suicide? This dog's like 92 years old, my friend.
Stabbing himself in the back 27 times. Wow. What an unselfish act of total political voluntary suicide by both shooting and hanging himself politically. Like really, truly amazing stuff there. What it actually was the sad spectacle of an old man being shoved off a cliff and being forced to celebrate as he himself was shoved off the cliff. You're like, oh, what a self-sacrifice. Ugh, can you believe the level of sacrifice that it took for us to disembowel him? And then as he was bleeding out, he gave it up, and then we're like, wow, that was an amazing sacrifice, Joe. In which they said that he was self-sacrificial, by which they mean they tied him up and threw him on a burning pyre. You know, the reason why Joe stepped down is because he dug deep into his soul. Oh, is that, I was pretty sure that it was the knife dug deep into his innards. They legitimately offed you. They shoveled him back into the crypt. It was about shoving Joe Biden off the cliff as fast as possible. And they actually shoved him into the back room. They put him in the Roald Dahl Matilda chokey, shoved him out a 3rd-story window like Vladimir Putin after having stabbed his candidacy to death and left it bleeding out on the floor. They were going to talk about what a wonderful president he had been. Man, we love that guy. We love him so much. We love him so much. I can't wait till he dies. I love him so much. Here's Kamala Harris.
And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President Joe Biden,
who I killed.
who will be speaking later tonight.
Kamala. Look at the sacrifice. It's time to pay tribute to the best president.
Weren't these people crying for like months saying Joe Biden should step aside? Joe Biden needs to step down. Why are they so mad now that he did it?
In the history of the United States, who I totally shivved directly in the gut and stole his nomination, and now I want him to leave and go to California. I mean, I didn't force him out, but I kind of forced him out. Nancy Pelosi basically admitted as much last night. He's very historic, very, very historic, and that's why he had to die. You tried to force him out. He was clinging to that cliff by his fingernails, and you were stomping on his hand. The Biden family has to try to make it clear that they wanted this. They did. They wanted it so bad. They really. So by the time they got to 11:30 p.m., Joe Biden was physically dead. They had to put him in the back room and take out the shock paddles, and they had to shock him back into life. And he went out there and he was like, "We did an amazing job, which is why you can't wait to open this trapdoor underneath me and feed me the crocodiles." Yeah. I mean, honestly, you kind of hope that Joe Biden has a life insurance policy. But feel the joy. Feel the joy. And if there is one representative of joy in the history of American politics, you know who it is. It's Hillary Clinton. She is here with the joy. She says something is happening in America.
Something is happening in America.
Oh, my gosh. Feel the joy.
Oh my God, he's so mad. Holy shit.
Yeah, do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Meanwhile, you have Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a phony. My goodness. He's bouncing around. He's so excited to be there, Tim Walz. Looking around. Wow. Do you feel the joy? Do you feel it? Do you feel the joy? You, if you don't. Feel the joy right now. Love it. Live it. Be the joy. God, you should feel the joy. And if you don't feel the joy, it's because you're bad. It's because you're cruel. Maybe a little racist. That's why you don't feel the joy. Here is Joy Reid, certainly one of the least joyous people in American public life, telling you about all the joy she feels.
I've not seen so many Democrats laugh, smile, sing. I mean, there is a song in the air.
Joy and unity and joy and unity. Feel the joy. Feel it. You feel it? Feel it. Feel it. Feel the joy. It's joyous. You feel it? Feel the joy. Literally no one has less of a common person experience than Kamala Harris. And she doesn't know about your problems. She certainly doesn't know about my problems. My problems involve not getting enough sleep.
Okay. Jesus. Okay. Connections and Timeguessr. And then boring. The excitement on the stream has already been too high. And you guys triggered me with housing shit. Not good. Not good today. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Steaming, poker, air, baking, laundry, ranking, boiling, station, heating, origami, position, fuming, standing, ventilation, livid, and conditioning. You're livid, you're steaming, you're boiling, and you're fuming. Hopping mad. Your standing, your ranking, your position, your station? Let's see. His heating, origami, ventilation, station? Is station ever used for, like, ranking? Oh, status. Okay. He's stationed in his station. Maybe? I don't know. You fold shit. Oh. You fold in poker, fold origami, fold laundry. Do you fold in baking? Like you fold like things as you're getting them ready? Okay. Heating, ventilation, air, and conditioning. Words that make up the acronym HVAC. Okay. Easy. This sounds like a 42K day. Let's fucking go. 42K today, guys. It's fucking, god damn it. Not famous museums that I should probably know what they are. Where are all the museums at? I have no idea, bro. I don't know. Europe somewhere? Didn't they steal all this shit in Britain? But you don't really go to Britain to see this, right? Don't you go to like where's the Mona Lisa? Sounds like it's like in Italy. It feels like an Italian thing. Italy has like museums, right? I have no idea. Museums. Where the fuck are museums at? Can I find some hint? Give me a hint. Anything at all? Anything, anywhere, language. I can't read this fucking stupid sign. Okay, we can nail the year at least. Okay, I'm not looking at our boob, I swear. We're looking at the map. Okay, we got phones, obviously. Okay, picture feels pretty recent. Well, hold on. We got a lot of cameras. Not many phones. I bet this is like the fucking Mona Lisa. I have no idea where this is. Fuck. Maybe this is older. I can't tell if this is a phone, like in a case, or this is a handheld camera. That's a camera. This guy, these look old. I think we're older. I think we're in a. Okay. Okay, here we go. Florence, 2007. An absolutely perfect Kino guess. God damn it. You know what? 8K though? We take those. We take those. Fuck, it was the Mona Lisa. Fuck! But we take those. 2011? Okay. 8K, 7.9K. The La Voix. La Voix. Va. La Voix. Okay. Whew. All right. Let's go. Run a 40K pace. Let's do it. Yes. King. Hong Kong. Hong Kong 2021? When did we wear masks? It was 2021, right? 2020. I don't remember. It was the end of 2020. Oh my God. Oh, we're about to hit a big. We got a free 9.9K. Oh my fucking God. Wait, does this? I don't actually. Oh my God. We didn't do our Hong Kong studying. It's all this. This whole thing should be, right? Shenzhen? Wait, is that like the sauce? Fucking Rick and Morty? Can we get a little bit more precise? Hold on. North Point. Okay, North Point. Skechers. Circle K. All right, okay. No street signs? Southern Stadium. Okay. Bro, where's all the fucking... Do you think that's like a big place? I don't know where the fuck the Southern Stadium... Oh, it's going to be in the South. It's going to be in the South. It's okay. We're looking. We're looking. Oh my God, there's this whole place over here. Holy shit. The Happy Valley. Oh. Okay, we got Hong Kong Stadium. Okay, that's okay. We don't need that one. We're going to find the other one. We will find it. Southern Stadium. We're not going to find it. It's not down here. This is residential, right? We wouldn't be all the way fucking down here, right? That's cringe. The South Side. Okay, hold on. It's time to switch up. Wait. Yeah, it's time to switch up. Let's go. Okay, let's fucking go. Okay. Stadiums. Where the fuck are they? Find them. No. Okay, hold on. Where? Okay. Village. No, you wouldn't put a stadium in a village? In a village? That would be absurd. Okay, none of this bullshit. This is... God damn it. Just... What is this? Is... Give me a thing. Name it. Hello? Sports ground. The velodrome. Nope. Okay. Okay, give me 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes, okay? I'm looking. 2 more minutes, okay? Just like 2 more minutes, guys. Oh my God. You know what? Fuck this place. The zero carbon building? What is it, a giant hut? I don't even know if this is southern, actually. This might be Souththorn. Souththorn? Southern. Is it ERN or ORN? Southern. Northern is ERN. Oh, it's ERN, right? What if they spell it differently? Am I getting mind fucked right now? No. It's in like a city place. I don't care. You know what? This is close enough for me. This is close enough for me. Just somewhere on this stupid fucking... I don't remember when we wore masks. I truly don't remember. I'm going to say 2021. 2021. 2020, 2021, 2020, 2021. When did we start it? Or was it the end of 2019 and it was 2020? Oh, fuck me. I don't remember. It might have been 2020, 2019. Fuck it, we'll try 2020. We take those. What was this? Did it even say it on the map? Southern Playground? Southern Center? Okay. It's Asia. Stop talking about masks? What do you mean? Sorry about all the posts. I couldn't figure out the super chats. Listen to the argument between Ryan Macbeth and Brandon Herrera on the Unsubscribed podcast. I'll think about it. Okay. They always wear masks, bro, even before COVID? No. You wear a mask in Asia if you think you're sick. It's not everybody wearing masks. What are you talking about? Please, stop. Wait, why the fuck is my mouse going crazy? What the fuck? It's because of the air quality? Maybe in Beijing, okay? But not in Hong Kong. They have freedom and free air there, okay? Get fucked. Okay, wait. All right. Oh, poof you. Oh, okay. We know this. Back on. Oh no, and the flags that I should know. You know what? Did we have the same flag yesterday? Give me a year. Give me a year. Oh, I'm so lucky. Oh my god, I was gonna guess fucking Bangkok. Give me a year, give me a year, give me a year. Give me a year. What do we got here? What do we have? Numbers. God damn it. I want to guess modern. But I don't see a single cell phone. Do we? Oh, nope, nope. She's got a cell phone. Okay. Here we go. Big guess coming up. Big one. Big one, big one, big one. Big one. Let's fucking go. Okay? Let's go. 2016, 2013, 2012. Oh my god, it was so much more modern. Fuck, it's always more modern. It's always more modern than I think. Fuck, my location was so good. Oh my god. We take it? No, we should have gotten. I don't know how I could have guessed. I should have guessed way modern. The location was nice as a guess. It's just the largest city in Tajikistan. we always guess capitals. Actually, I don't even know it's a capital. Okay. Thoughts? I don't even know what the fuck this is in reference to. Okay. All right. Come on. Come on. There's a 40K day. I can feel it. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no. Why is he kicking this poor man? Never mind. This is the one that sinks us, boys. He's got a French beret. Isn't that what they're supposed to wear in the France land? Do they use Z's? That sounds like an Eastern European thing. The Z's. Centro. Fuck. Z's. Fuck. No. This is the end. Habladores. Adores. This seems kind of Spanish, which means it might be French, which means it's probably... The French beret man is selling me. It's the French beret man. He's got a hold on me. I can't say no to that French beret. Would they really do 2 in Paris? I'm gonna just stick it somewhere in here because I don't know if we're in France. Maybe it's somewhere different. What is the year? Bro, I have no idea. These cars in the background. I'm gonna say fucking 70. Good luck. This might be a rough one. Oh, okay. We take those. We somehow take those. We somehow take those. Portugal. Lisbon. My God. My God. Okay. Oh my God. Let's go. Can we at least do a 40K today? No. Oh no. Is it the Scottish people that do the kilt thing? Is that lichen? No. I don't know what the fuck this is. A Nazi ball? Hello? Why? What is this event? Why don't I know this event? What was happening here? Oh no, fuck. RCF Nazi balls. RCF Nazi balls. Okay, it was probably while Trump was president, right? We got Secret Service people here in the back and everything. Looks kind of official-ish. So 2017 to 2021. 2017. Probably 28. So 2017 to 2020, probably. Fuck, what was happening here? What were we doing? The kilt, all this shit. This is some kind of cuckoldry for Europe. It is. The bagpipes. What is it? What was this? What was this event? I don't know, don't care. Don't know, don't care, don't remember. Where could he be at where he sees pretty water in the background and it's just the ocean? Where do we think he'd be? Somewhere over here? Where the fuck does Scotland begin? He's in Aberdeen. Oh, I recognize this place, of course. He's in Aberdeen in 2017. Let's fucking go. Please, just... You know what? We take it. We take it. English comedian Simon Brodkin being arrested for throwing swastika golf balls at a president during a press conference at one of his golf courses in Scotland. Oh my God. 41.495. We take those. Not bad. Not bad. Alpha Control? I want to be part of Alpha Control. Have we lagged at all since I upgraded my NDI? Okay, we're reading. We're doing more pound shit. Stay mad and stay bored. Get the fuck out. This is a no fun zone now. For the next hour and a half. I need to fucking finish this. Just going through all the hits on Pence here to see if I'm missing anything from his timeline. I don't think I am. The electors organized by the Trump campaign were not valid. 103. Deposition of Greg Jacob. What's the Sam Harris convo? Pretty same stuff I always talk about. But you can always just listen to it. I think it's either out today or tomorrow. Page 61, 31, 61. Pages 61 to 62. So you anticipated my question, which is what assumes, what you said more or less assumes compliance with the Electoral Count Act itself. It does, and you mentioned that in your conversation with Mr. Morgan. I think you said something, if they didn't have alternate electors in place, it might result in the mootness concerns. Some of the litigation was going on. Can you describe or explain what they mean by they? I don't recall the time of the conversation with Matt. May have been around January 2nd. Matt was just explaining because he saw that email where we hurriedly gathered the information we had about the alternate certificates. Matt had been meeting with me and Mark Short and the vice president on January 2nd. I can't remember if anybody else was there as well, but he had mentioned, I think in the context of my saying, I don't think there is an imprimatur state authority here. I think he had said, well, yeah, the reason that they did that was not to be mooted, so that makes sense. So they being a campaign or whatever's left over from the campaign, whatever's being left over from the campaign, but again, I did not have the sense that Matt himself had been involved in that, just that he knew the rationale. I don't think I went back to check the names of the people who were on the certificates, but I think he had said that in some states they hadn't been able to get the electors who had originally designated Trump's slate. Like if he won, these would be the electors for the state. They had to find substitutes, and I think even in some states they didn't have a full number of electors. Probably conversation. Okay. It's on January 2nd. And this is Greg Jacob. Saying that he spoke to, Greg Jacobs. No, wait. This is with... Oh, yeah, Mr. Morgan. It's Matt Morgan. L. Riley, I might... No, I have no plans to write a book. Thank you. .106, 107. Page 68 to 69. On the second way, and the vice president got my advice. We were not going to be under the alternate slates procedures, but the vice president was concerned that people were aware that there were alternate slates that had been submitted and that there had been a fair amount of news stories about it, so he wanted to make sure they were being really transparent about it. It wasn't that we had forgotten them. It was that there is no imprimatur state authority, and therefore they have no status at the electoral count. What does this mean? Like no proper? An official license by the Roman Catholic Church, or a person's acceptance or guarantee that something is of a good standard.
Imprimatur.
Imprimatur. Wow, Pappy Wappy, thanks for the $20, buddy. The same day, January 2nd, Mark Short released a brief statement on behalf of the vice president. 108. What is that brief statement? Short. Jesus. My mom just texted me. We now have the truth from Arizona and Georgia that Biden is not our elected president. Oh boy. Okay. I would like to find this episode. There was a January 2nd episode of The War Room. Steve Bannon's War Room, Eastman. Do you think they have this saved anywhere? Supporting documents. Videos, maybe? This was on December 8th. Details. May 27th. Oh, that's it. Fuck. Media Matters for America says it has it. Where? It's got to be like on BitChute or something like this. Like the full episode. Steve Bannon, War Room. Where is this normally on? Rumble? Oh, live now.
Are you still interested in a solar-powered generator?
Yes.
Just pay special attention because I'm going to do something that until recently we've never done.
What?
I'm going to offer this solar generator with 2 times the power, and if you want, you can even make it expandable. And I'm even giving away a free solar panel and an easy optional payment plan in case you're ready to prepare now but need to break up the financial commitment. That is something I can do today while we have these units in stock. It does come with one of these foldable solar panels to make sure that you can charge it even after.
City of Dreams is a heroic journey of a young man forced into slave labor, but found a way to fight back against impossible odds.
Oh, God.
Is there a problem, officer?
Kind of busy shin.
The busy kind.
Child slavery is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world today. And it's not just overseas, it's in America.
Because he's ahead, because Trump's ahead, I don't really see what the upside is for him.
Do you think there's not gonna be a fuck. Steve Bannon, War Room Rumble, January 2nd. I need this episode. 2021. I want this episode. You remember you looking at episode with Eastman before? Yeah, I don't know if it was that episode, though. I don't think it was. Fuck. What was the name of that? It was like banned video or something, I think, was the link that we had. Control F. Banned video. This is for the, oh my God, did you find it? Are you a god? 3 years ago. January 2nd, 2021. You are a god. I love you.
Watch what
Thank
boiled eggs do to your body.
Have you ever noticed how you could easily eat 3, 4, or even 5 scrambled eggs in one sitting? But eating the same amount of boiled eggs in one go...
Best and worst dinner for your waistline. Sweet potato. Try
Not
to
blue
find
spaghetti.
The purple sweet potato. They're the highest.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume.
Strongly warning Americans to avoid all
What everyone's looking at is the Senate, and we
talking to someone over the inspirational word behind our deplorable followers.
America's first Christmas, 1776, the Battle of Trenton on Christmas night. Okay, and now I want to turn to Mark Serrano from PA Communications. He's been with the Thomas More. He's been the partner over there, working with Phil Klein and the great team that's gone through state by state and found where the evidence is. The lawsuits all over. Remember, this is driving the narrative. This is why they're in a meltdown. They melted down the other day when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, with a little whipping exercise, to counter where McCarthy was whipping a radio show. Fascinating.
So let's go back a little ways, because I believe that the War Room posse, everyone who follows you, so
those guys see what you're doing.
Chance to take
the guys in Philadelphia didn't actually like that.
Not our
think poppies. He's lulling. Here's what I think. They're on the party of death.
His party. It's sort of
sure the great prosecutor.
States from 2011 to 2012, all and for
end it your way by the engine room of the war room. The CCP virus. We're fine.
They first create the problem to the world. Actually, economic Chinese.
I failed all 4 semesters.
Has not had anybody's freedom for the people of the world.
Politically and throughout our society. There's a
gangster.
That is Ian Smith Fitness.
Let's see. Eastman was a guest on a January 2nd episode of Bannon's show, War Room Pandemic. There was a second episode on the same day? Oh, Jesus. Man. They're really pumping those episodes out, huh?
For anyone struggling with high blood sugar, do not drink cold water. Did you know type 2 diabetes is a completely...
Right now, we are on the brink of a large-scale civilizational war. This is not an abstract conflict between the West and the East. It is a concrete confrontation.
No. Aegon, stay away. We don't have time for you right now.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed.
I want to explain to you why.
Historic weeks, and then it's going to happen. Liz, we got a massive exclusive interview with Archbishop. This massive. Let's go right back to the Constitution. The VP's hardwired into the Constitution. Terrific law is about these electors, about the
Texas lawsuit to punt on the issue. This about the.
Okay, Boris Epshteyn was involved in some of the skimming on this.
Yeah, so walk us through where we stand.
Steve, great morning to be with you. Thank you so much. Thanks to your listeners. Love those messages from the people in Arizona to you. And I'm getting them all the time on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, a ton of feedback, all positive about being on your show and the War Room being the brain trust of Make America Great Again, brain trust of the MAGA movement. So here's where we stand. Last night, in an interesting decision, a federal district court did rule against the Louis Gohmert lawsuit, but only on standing. Only on standing, not on the merits. Again, using that standing doctrine, the same that the Supreme Court used against the Texas lawsuit, to punt on the issue. This time on the issue, which is actually pretty clear, the wide, expansive, large amount of power that the vice president has in terms of counting the votes under the 12th Amendment of the Constitution, irrespective of what the electoral count has.
Ooh, January 2nd episode. Steve Bannon. Oh, video. Steve Bannon's War Room Pandemic. Boris Epshteyn talking about 12th Amendment. VP can't circumvent the ECA.
Access. So here's where we stand. In Georgia, a filing has been made in district court because the Georgia courts have refused to give President Trump and his campaign the due process which is allotted under Georgia law for an election contest. An election contest was filed over 3 weeks ago, and the Georgia court system has refused to even assign a judge to it. So now we're taking that to the district court. The Pennsylvania case is in front of the Supreme Court, and now there are 2 Wisconsin cases, 2 Wisconsin petitions.
But hang on, hold on, slow down for a second. When you say in front of it, haven't the courts basically come back and said, hey, we see all these things, but either no standing or laches, or we just don't want to deal with it? And the Supreme Court's a perfect example. You had a great.
Epshteyn saying dismissed on standing but not merits doesn't even make sense. It's literally the same thing. It's not the same thing, but usually when people are upset about standing, they are usually just don't have a good understanding of what's happening legally, or they're just like being disingenuous. Like if you think you have a really strong case on the merits, then find somebody with standing. Should be easy. If you are losing on standing, you're not even getting your case heard, then it sounds like you have a weak case or a non-existent case because you can't find an injured party. Also, like, standing can arguably be about the merits. If you're saying, for instance, well, I think I have a right to sue him, because I don't like how his election process is going, like Texas v. Virginia or whatever, and the courts say, no, you actually don't have a right. You have no standing here. You have nothing to say about their election system. You don't have the right to say anything about it. I mean, that is a standing issue, but it's also partially kind of like on the merits of can a state have an impact, or can a state tell another state how to run their elections, right?
Great lawsuit. I think the most tightly argued you've had to date. John Eastman's going to be on next, and essentially it's crickets, right? Because they're basically telling you we don't want to deal with it. Is that what the audience should take away from this? Given all the evidence, all the constitutional issues, everything, they're saying no mas. We just don't want to get involved in this.
What the Supreme Court is saying is that right now, you're right, they don't want to get involved. But what our perspective is, and what the fact is, that there are 46 electoral votes. And then you include Arizona with their 11. Then you go to 57 electoral votes, which are in contest right now in front of the United States Supreme Court.
What do you think of Eastman getting disbarred for this? Yeah, he should be in prison for it.
Meaning petitions for certiorari, petitions for the court to take it up are pending. So there's no way to say that the election contests are over. Election contests are not continuing. Everything is decided. If you count the federal courts as being under the purview of the Supreme Court, which obviously they are,
but hang on, I want
to, which is the reason. Which is
your
the
Rudy's,
reason.
by the way. We got Eastman, the constitutional lawyer for the president next. We got Rudy, the head lawyer. You're the deputy over there. I just got to ask this. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm not a lawyer, and I don't pretend to be one, right? I turn that over to you. I hire lawyers, right? So and this is what the Pence suit is about, just to kind of boil it down to the essence of the thing itself.
When they say all the evidence, is there any concept in their head of what the evidence is? Is it just the Trump media stuff? No. They're fighting all on crazy procedural grounds right now. There is no evidence. Nothing good has been presented anywhere. It's all bullshit. All of it is bullshit.
The courts, the Supreme Court, Mike Pence, Pelosi and McConnell, everybody is just, I think, sitting there and they're turning and they're saying, hey, we read the Constitution, it says state legislatures. It's their problem. And that's where the certification is. I think it's one of the reasons you're going to have this briefing today. In the state, Pennsylvania comes back Monday. There's a firestorm out in Arizona. When you boil it down, doesn't this get back to the state legislatures? They either certify the Biden slates or they don't. And if they don't, you have a contingent election, right? So isn't that the essence of it? And the courts are just going to take a Pasadena on this thing?
It's the legislatures in the states, no doubt about it. It's incumbent upon them in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Arizona, and I'll call out the ones which are Democrat-controlled, in Nevada, in New Mexico, to do the right thing by the American people and have special sessions, continue investigating. The amount of fraud is absolutely staggering. We're talking about over 400,000 fraudulent ballots alleged in Georgia. We know for a fact from the recount in Wisconsin that just in Milwaukee-Dane County, I talk about this a lot, over 220,000 fraudulent ballots. We know the 700,000 ballots in Pennsylvania, which were mail-in absentee, which were not observed when they were being counted. We know that the number of around 200,000 more votes than voters, more votes cast than people who signed in to vote in Pennsylvania is real. All this information is out there. All this information is being presented, and these state legislators cannot stick their head in the sand and say this has nothing to do with us. You're right. The courts are saying it is incumbent upon them to act, and it is very clearly in the Article 2 of our Constitution spelled out that it is the duty and the job of the state legislatures to determine how elections are held, and it is their duty then to determine who the correct electors are. So that is absolutely irrefutable. Now,
what should our audience look for? We got to. Yeah, go ahead.
That the vice president has an extensive amount of power. And when it does come on the 6th, we already know that there's electors from both the Biden side and the Trump side that have been sent to Congress. That was done on December 14th. The vice president's got a lot of power, and that's very important to recognize. In this case for Louis Gohmert, dismissed only on standing, on procedure, not on the merits.
That's a huge deal. Repeat that to the audience. I'll make sure everybody understands this. You got the buried lead right there. Walk us through it again. We've got about a minute.
The vice president has a ton of power in terms of opening and counting the electoral college votes at the joint session on the 6th. That power is enumerated in the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. The Louis Gohmert lawsuit, which wanted to have effectively declarative judgment highlighting that power, was dismissed yesterday in a lower federal court.
What day was this? January 2nd, 2021.
But only on standing, only on procedure, not on the merits. The merits have not been adjudicated, which means the power stands.
Boris, give us your...
That's not at all what that means. That was a wildly, ridiculously, disingenuous and fake and false legal interpretation. That was not even remotely true, but okay.
Standing, only on procedure, not on the merits. The merits have not been adjudicated, which means the power stands.
Boris, give us your social media so that people can follow you during the day. They got to follow you this week. You can dump Boris after Wednesday, but from between now and Wednesday, you got to be on the gram with Boris.
Well, it'd be nice if you kept me around. On the gram, Boris _ Epshteyn, Boris _ EPSHTEYN, putting out a ton of content in terms of what's happening, lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. Twitter @BorisEP, Parler @Boris. Instagram, Boris _ Epshteyn, Twitter @BorisEP, Parler @Boris. God bless, rock and roll. We're going to have a huge, historic week for America.
Thank you, brother. Guy grinding 24/7. Remember, Madison Caulfield started this by saying he's in. On Monday, ladies and gentlemen, there was one. There was Mo Brooks, one man alone. CNN's in meltdown yesterday. There's 160 congressmen right now, and guess what? They're going to cross the 200 congressmen, I think, by Sunday. It's time for Minority Leader McCarthy to step up and say, I am Spartacus. Okay? Short break. We'll be back in a second.
Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
2021 just finished a historic year in 2020. Trust me, this is going to be big. We're going to get John Eastman, a little technical problem, getting John Eastman on, the constitutional lawyer for the president. Massive constitutional fights going on behind the scenes. People don't understand. President.
If someone quotes you to this in a debate, how do you respond? What do you mean? We destroy them in 50 million different ways. Wait. Merits versus standing? Losing on standing is a legitimate reason to lose a case. There's a reason why somebody with standing hasn't brought this case forward. So first of all, what they wanted to do, the Gomer case that they're referring to, is they got a congressman to try to sue Mike Pence, saying Mike Pence is I'm going to be an injured party if Mike Pence doesn't violate the Electoral Count Act and certify the vote in Congress the way that I want him to. That's a ridiculous case. You have absolutely no standing, and you shouldn't. You have no right to tell the president what he should, or the vice president, how he should count the electoral votes because you feel like you're an injured party because you're a representative and you're mad at how he's going to. You have no standing there. You have no reason at all. So the idea that, it's not ruled on the merit. What merits? You have no reason to have. There's nothing here. You have nothing. You have nothing. Standing is important. There's a reason why it exists. It's not just nothing.
Trump did not return dramatically to the nation's capital in the White House with Melania and basically shine on his New Year's Eve party, which is kind of one of his pride and joys. To come back here and actually left early, come back in the morning to go through. And this is a fight. Okay, this is a fight. He was there to look at the 100 names. We got to get those back up there in the House. The Georgia's done a good 7. You have real. And between an alliance, Paris, and Trump made. I happen to be on a call with a lawyer that's been putting up these lawsuits. John, first off, this argument of what's actually happening at the state basis and what happened in the Constitution, that you and I happened to be on a call last night and you were walking people through, it was so brilliant. Could you just walk people through what the framework is for this week and why you think, and you've been arguing in court and putting these briefings and these suits out there, that this is just outrageous that we're going down this path?
Sure. I mean, the U.S. Constitution very clearly assigns the power of selecting the manner for choosing electors to the legislatures of the state. For many years in our nation's history, the legislatures just picked the presidential electors themselves. But modernly, and for about the last century or century and a half in some cases, the legislatures have said we're going to do this by popular vote. But we're going to do it in accord with election laws that we pass. Election laws requiring signature verification on absentee ballots. Election laws require you to prove voter ID. All of those things designed to minimize the risk of fraud in how we conduct the election. And in a number of states, and most egregiously in Georgia and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, partisan elected officials, and in some cases partisan judicial officials, ignored or altered those legislative commands and conducted the election in violation of the manner that the legislature had set out. That means the election was illegally conducted. And you don't even have to get into the number of ballots affected. It was illegally conducted. And I'll give you, I think, the most egregious example. In Georgia, they have a provision.
Did they even follow up after they lost on standing? They could have brought the case again, having corrected what caused them to lose on standing and proceeded on. No, they have no merits. The standing is important here. They have no merits, so there is no standing. You're not an injured party there. The vice president has an obligation under the ECA to do what he wants to. You can't prove that you're an injured party. You're not injured at all. There is no. It would be like saying, standing is important because you have to prove that you're an injured party, and you have to prove that the court can give you some sort of relief. So, for instance, this is what I want to say. When you talk about when people, if somebody tells you, oh, it was just done on standing, they didn't even go over the merits, sometimes it's a false dichotomy. Let's say that I go to civil court against you and I say, hey, I don't like the fact that you masturbate too much. It actually really bothers me. So I'm going to sue you for your masturbation habits, right? Ignoring the fact that your complaint doesn't even reach the level of actually breaking a law, you're not even an injured party in this circumstance, right? So that could theoretically get tossed on stand. You don't even have standing to sue somebody here for masturbating. Why the fuck would you even what the fuck? You don't even have a. So for somebody oh well, they didn't actually roll on the merits at all. They only tossed it for standing. It's well, I mean, yeah, but I mean that's kind of important. Why would you think you even have standing here? If you think it's a really important thing that the person's doing, that they've super done something that's horrible, and the merits need to be discussed about their masturbatory standing or masturbatory habits, then find somebody who's an injured party to bring the lawsuit to court. That's what they did for the student loan stuff. You've got organizations that go around states and they say, okay, well, who do we think is an injured party. Oh, we found some people. We're going to have these people sue, and then we'll take it to court through them. Like, you need to have a, you need to prove that whatever they're doing at the very least hurt you. Like, saying that something was tossed on standing doesn't mean that it was tossed for no good reason. Standing exists for a reason. Like,
that if you have evidence of fraud or irregular.
I thought standing was like jurisdiction, where you get to fix stuff and bring your case again. Oh, no. Well, is something tossed on standing if you're in the wrong venue? I mean, jurisdictional questions apply as well. But no, these weren't tossed because of jurisdictional reasons. They were tossed because Gomar couldn't even articulate an injury, or the injury he articulated it wasn't real. A court, like, you're not an injured party because you don't like how the vice president is counting the electoral votes.
It was illegally conducted. And I'll give you, I think, the most egregious example. In Georgia, they have a provision that if you have evidence of fraud or irregularities or evidence that a sufficient number of illegal ballots have been cast or legal ballots not properly counted, you can bring an election contest within 5 days after the conclusion of the recount. They did that on December 4th in Georgia. And here we are a month later, and we still don't even have a judge assigned to hear that case. And yet the governor went ahead 3 days after that challenge was brought and certified the electors, completely ignoring the statutory mechanism set out for resolving election disputes. And that means we have a failed election. And there's another provision.
Every time he says they didn't do it correctly, this is in his opinion. The state did say that they did it correctly. These went through all the state courthouses. All the states were satisfied with how they cleared up their, whatever procedural stuff they had, and that's it. That's why he wants to take them to federal court, because he's like, I don't like how the states ruled here. Fuck you. Now we're going to go to federal court. I'm going to go to federal court to overrule how you did it, which it's arguable whether a federal court would even have review here. I don't even know if a federal court would be allowed to review a state's decision, because now Eastman is going to get brutally, gaped, okay, by his saying of like, well, the state legislators are the one to decide. The Constitution says it's the state legislators decide. Okay, fine. Well, if they've decided, if they passed laws and they figured out, and now their judicial, branches have decided everything's okay, why the fuck would you think the federal judiciary system would have any overview here or review here? Why would you think they would get to go over the decision?
In federal law, 3 United States Code Section 2, that says when the state has failed to choose electors on the date assigned by Congress, the power to choose the electors devolves back to the legislature because they have the ultimate constitutional authority here. And we've got a lot of legislatures that are afraid to exercise that constitutional power because they think they have to get permission from the governor to have their session, or they got to get permission from the courts to do anything. No, this is a power the Constitution assigns exclusively to those state legislatures. And they need to act, because what we have here is massive evidence that this election was at least conducted illegally, in violation of the state statutes, but lots of evidence as well that as a
I agree with your point on standing. I'm curious, how do you refute the idea that Jack Smith didn't have standing for the elector case and special counsel? That wasn't a standing question. That was Thomas saying that there's no constitutional authority for a special counsel to be appointed by the attorney general. I don't know all the legal history there, though, so I can't argue against it. But Thomas is retarded, so I would assume it's stupidly argued. But I can't dig into it at all.
The result of that illegal conduct, removing checks against fraud in the absentee ballot process, that we have absentee fraud more than enough to have affected the outcome of the election. And I think it's the duty of these legislatures to fix this egregious conduct and make sure that we're not putting in the White House some guy that didn't get elected.
This is what the constitutional crisis is. So I want to be very specific and drill down on this, because this is going to be historic. We are entering into one of the most important constitutional crises the country's ever had. Your theory of the case, essentially, if they did give you an expedited hearing, if you went through all this process and you're filing other suits that are just as powerful, at the end of the day, isn't what the Supreme Court's going to say? And look, I'm not a constitutional guy, but aren't they going to say, "Hey, John, great argument. We're not going to overturn the Biden electors. We're going to flip this whole thing back to the state legislatures, and they've got to either reaffirm, they've got to stand up." Isn't this all get back to the state legislatures, and particularly in these 5 states?
There are two places where it gets back to. It gets back to the state legislatures because their process was not followed, and it was deliberately not followed. This was a concerted effort to thwart the checks, the anti-fraud provisions they had put into place. So it devolved back to the state legislature. And the only other place where it devolves back to is the Congress, and particularly the vice president, who will sit in presiding over a joint session of Congress beginning January 6th to count the ballots. And they've got multiple slates of ballots from 7 states, and they've got to decide which is the valid slate to count. I think they have that authority to make that determination on their own, but it would certainly be helped immensely if the legislatures in the states looked at what happened in their own states and weigh in, exercising their power under the U.S. Constitution. And here's the biggest problem. We haven't had this happen. There was one minor event in 1960 out of Hawaii, but we haven't had it happen on the scale that we have now with multiple slates from multiple states since 1876. They don't understand that the power they have to exercise here is not derived from their state constitution. It's derived from the federal constitution. So restrictions on that power, like we can only meet with the permission of the governor of our state, restrictions on that power are preempted by the federal constitution. They have this power directly from the federal constitution, and it's there for a reason, because it's much easier to corrupt a single executive official than it was to corrupt the entire legislature to have an outcome. And they wanted the branch of government closest to the people, which is the legislature, to be the one that has the ultimate say about here. And these guys need to understand their constitutional authority and their constitutional duty to put a stop to this egregious violation of law that has occurred.
The Louis Gohmert suit is essentially saying that the Electoral Count Act of 1877 is unconstitutional. We've got to go back to the Constitution, and there, the President of the Senate, the Vice President of the United States, is hardwired in, and he's actually a decision maker. This is not ministerial. Is that correct? And last night, the ruling was so important because the judge didn't want to touch the merits, right? It's once again, you got no standing. Are we to assume that this is going to be a climactic battle that's going to take place this week about the very question of the constitutionality of the Electoral Count Act of 1877?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on the courage and the spine of the individuals involved. But look, I love Representative Gohmert. I think he's terrific.
But can we ask you to stay through the commercial break and bring you back? Sure. I know it's Shelley Swamp, but here's the reason. When you just said the courage and the spine, we know Louis Gohmert's got all the courage. He's pure honey badger. Judge Gohmert from down Texas 1. That guy is tough as Texas boot leather. Okay, are you talking on the other side of football? Would you be? That'd be a nice way to say a guy named Vice President Mike Pence.
Yes.
I don't want to put you on the spot like that, John. You're too good a man. John Eastman, one of the most decent guys I've ever met. So, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with the president's constitutional lawyer, John Eastman. Also going to bring in his personal lawyer and the guy running the entire thing, War Room's 2020 Man of the Year, Rudy Giuliani.
I feel awful for Eastman. He lost everything for serving the Constitution. He's right. I'm sorry to say. Don't call me a traitor. Please respond destiny, not with emotion. You're just wrong. I don't need to... What?
Next, on the other side of this commercial break, with Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon live from the nation's capital. We'll return in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we're going to do cold opens, but we're jammed for time. We got John Eastman, the president's constitutional lawyer. Walk us through, Brother Eastman, what you think is, how is this going to evolve, and what should the audience, we pride ourselves on tomorrow's news today and the signal, not the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. Yeah. Guys are running around, people are not qualified, telling state legislatures what their constitutional powers are or not. You got this climactic thing. Nancy Pelosi, and the wood chopping you hear is Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell working nonstop to be changing rules. So trust me, they don't want 20, they don't want 12 hours, 2 hours per state on showing the receipts on Wednesday. So you've got guys working here 24/7 trying to chop block the President of the United States, and particularly his defense of this republic and the Constitution. So John Eastman, you're the lead sled dog here. What should people be looking for?
Well, I think they ought to not just be looking for it, but they ought to be putting pressure on their state legislatures. So if you're in Georgia or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Arizona, call your legislatures, demand that they.
Why is it so laggy? I don't know. I don't know. It's either NDI on my OBS or it is something to do with this computer's network interface card. Maybe I need different drivers. I don't remember if I installed drivers for it or not. Maybe I used the default Windows one. We'll see. I'll look at it after stream.
Call themselves into session, which they have the constitutional authority to do. No restriction in their constitution telling them they can't exercise this power is valid. It's preempted by the federal constitution. There's a little thing in the federal constitution called the supremacy clause, and it says the laws and constitution of the United States are the supreme law of the land. Nothing in the state laws or state constitutions to the contrary notwithstanding. It cannot be more clear here. And pressure needs to be brought on these recalcitrant legislators to call themselves into session and to make an assessment of what happened in their state, and then either decertify the existing slate of electors if there's just too much uncertainty about the results of the election, or certify the correct slate of electors if the number of ballots that are shifted, if you get rid of the illegal ones, are enough to affect the outcome, as we believe they are. They need to do that this week before Wednesday. So pressure beginning now, and rolling thunder pressure. If you find one guy out about the results of the election, or certify the correct slate of electors if the number of ballots that are shifted, if you get rid of the illegal ones, are enough to affect the outcome, as we.
Can you explain the independent legislature theory? Yeah, basically in the Constitution, the elections shall be conducted in the manner that the legislatures prescribe thereof, or some bullshit. But all the state legislatures have made laws and rules for how to conduct their elections. But what these guys are saying is, well, since the Constitution says that the state legislatures can decide, the legislature should just ignore all the laws they've made and just reassume that power and say, actually, fuck everything else that's happened. We're going to do a different type of election. We're going to change how we do everything because it's in the Constitution. It's a cockamamie, stupid fuck concept, idea, and all of this is being deployed in bad faith in order to flip the election. That's it. It's all stupid. Basically, every time they say constitutional, what they really mean to say is illegal, but we think it would be right for us to do it. That's what they're saying, essentially.
We believe they are. They need to do that this week before Wednesday. So pressure beginning now, and rolling thunder pressure. If you find one guy saying, well, I can't do anything, the leader is the one blocking it, then shift the focus to the leader. The second thing that needs to happen is, I think what's going to happen, or should happen in Congress, is we can't count slates of electors that were illegally certified. And if they were certified after an election that violated fundamental state law, those are illegally certified. If you or I were to submit a bank mortgage application to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac that had that kind of misrepresentation on it, we would be in prison. So we need to bolster the authority of our leaders in Congress to not accept fraudulently certified slates of electors.
Okay, we're going to be putting that up from Denver in a moment. Just hang on there. Okay, one last question.
That's not even... No, that is true. I don't know.
Is the president's best path to affirm his victory on November 3rd hang on getting a contingent election here in the House of Representatives? Or is there a way, an alternative way, that you see the power through this using either the Electoral Control Act or some decision that made that the Vice President of the United States grows a spine and understands his constitutional duty, as you interpret it, Mr. Eastman?
Yeah. So look, we've got cert petitions pending in the Supreme Court on this very question from Pennsylvania and Georgia. A new case was filed New Year's Eve from Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and a new case was filed New Year's Eve in Georgia, raising the same thing. The states ignored their state election law, and those slates of electors are invalid. And I think if the vice president, as presiding over the joint session, would at least agree that because those ongoing contests have not been resolved, we can't count those electors. That means that nobody has a majority of the electors, and either they delay things so those constitutional challenges are resolved, or they say, okay, well, we don't have electors from those states. That nobody has a majority. This is going to the House. Either route requires that we look at what actually happened here and get to the bottom of it. This is about more than who wins this particular race. We no longer have a self-governing republic if the elections that we participate in are meaningless because of fraud. And that's the stakes. Are we going to be a self-governing republic or are we not? Those are the stakes. And it's much bigger than whether President Biden or President Trump gets sworn into office on January 20th. This goes to the heart of whether we're a Republican form of government and whether we get to control the direction of our government or not.
This is why Mitch McConnell said the other day when he got on a conference, he told these guys who had just voted 9 months before, only the third time in the history of the Republic, at a trial to impeach a president, told them this will be the most important vote you ever take. John Eastman, how do people get your social media so they can follow you during the day, sir? Dr. John Eastman at Twitter and John Eastman at Parler. You're a good man, sir. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you, Steve. Keep up the good work.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I want to bring in now the War Room's 2020 Man of the Year, Rudy Giuliani, America's Mayor. Mayor Giuliani, I got to go to the cut right to the chase. You have been obsessed with one thing, as I've known you as a friend, a colleague, and somebody working on this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And it goes off of what John Eastman just said. It's about the responsibility, not simply the constitutional responsibility, but the moral responsibility of these state legislatures who never signed up. They understand they never signed up for this because we never thought about it. But right now, Eastman frames it perfectly, and even Mitch McConnell said the quiet part out loud last week. This is more important than, and Trump understands this, this is more important than November 3rd. This is more important than even Trump's presidency, as it confirmed his victory. This is more important than this fight between the nationalists and the globalists. Is more important than the fight between progressives and conservatives. Is more important than this fight between Republicans and Democrats. This gets to the heart. If you go read Roman history, this is like towards how the Republic fell, right, and became a totalitarian, authoritarian empire.
Do these people know this is fraudulent? They know that what they're planning, what they're saying is illegal. Yeah, they all know this. Yes.
We're at that moment, and that's what this week is. And Mayor Giuliani, you have been obsessed with the responsibilities of the state legislature. And
so he's just not going to fix the lag? I have no idea how to fix the lag. I don't know what's going on. I can't do anything about it. We'll figure it out eventually. Someday.
What they can't do, which is to essentially break the law and send this forward. Will you explain to our audience the details on what you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is the founding fathers figured out where to point the finger of responsibility, and the buck stops with the state legislatures. It's right in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. It may be that we didn't pay that much attention to it in the past because we haven't, but it's been there from the beginning, and it makes clear that it's their responsibility. And when they took an oath of office, they all took an oath of office to uphold that Constitution, including that clause. The founders even anticipated a close, difficult, and contested election, and they made a deliberate choice to give it to the legislators closest to the people. Now, I believe, and I don't think I'm far off, and I think most people will understand this election will be scrutinized for years, maybe for many years. This could be the most historic vote they cast. It certainly is going to probably be the most scrutinized in terms of their political careers, their personal lives, and what we think of them as men and women of integrity. And if you just focus on it, they are being asked now to sit by and watch a fraud get perpetrated in the name of their state. This is before we get to whether Trump won. What we know is the vote count is substantially wrong. We know that in each one of those states, and I go through each one, I'll pick just one, Arizona. We know in Arizona that illegal immigrants, people without citizenship, voted. That is not considered in the vote count of Arizona. 32,000 at least, determined by not the best sources. We had to go to newspapers and records, but they're all for sure illegal. So we got to deduct 32,000 from his vote count. Same thing with, dead people can't vote. Well, 8,000 of them voted in Arizona, and they're counted. We call that a fraud. They submitted a statement to the government, and that statement is a false statement. They have to take responsibility for that, for good or for bad. They can't get...
If I was you, I would just jack in. NDI, do straight HDMI capture. Actually, you know what? I don't know why I don't do that. I feel like there's a reason why I didn't do that, but actually I probably just should. Maybe because I didn't have a capture card with multiple HDMI input, but I probably do now. I should just... Actually, you're right. Oh, we wouldn't have to deal with any of this NDI bullshit.
Get away with it by saying, oh, it's too complicated, I didn't understand I had those responsibilities, and I don't think history is going to let them get away with it. So I have to impress on them, I hope, over the next couple of days, and no one does it better than Professor Eastman, that this is a decision with great consequences. It also is, as you point out, we've had a terrible year for human rights and civil rights. We've had our freedom of speech trampled. We've had our freedom of religion attacked terribly. We've had our freedom of movement virtually taken away from us. You look at those three things, and we're starting to look like, East Germany before the fall of the wall. And now,
but when you, this is what I want to, but hang on a second. I want to get to this. Yeah, but here's the point. Here's one of the points I want you to address. The audience that's worked so hard, and this is the most powerful audience in all media because we have activists that'll go do it and they'll burn down the phone lines. They're saying they're like in a Kafka-esque novel. They're looking and say, hey, we got Eastman and Rudy. You know, we got Trump, and they're making this argument. They got the receipts, they got the evidence in every vertical, in the illegal, the voter fraud vertical, the ballot fraud vertical, the election fraud vertical, the no chain of custody, the mail-in, and that's even before. Let's leave off to the side Dominion, and what's going to take longer and real investigations from law enforcement. But that's a free option. That's huge too, but that's for another day. You got all of this, which are hundreds of thousands, and these are Republican-controlled legislatures. The disconnect is, Mayor, how when evidence is that overwhelming, when their constitutional duties are so specific, how do you have guys running around telling them you have no power, you just have to take a pass on this and let it just play out the way it's going to play out? How do they have these people out there that are telling them that?
Well, this is why this election is bigger than Donald Trump, Joe Biden, you, me, or any of us, because this is a this is a pernicious scheme by the Democrat Party to steal this election. And these Republicans, some of them unknowingly, but some of them knowingly, are participating in it. I mean, and if you let this happen, it's only going to happen again. It's happening right now in the Senate race in Georgia. And we're maybe 3-4 votes away from getting the Georgia legislature to decertify and to certify Donald Trump. And the people blocking it right now are people like Speaker Ralston, who is a good man, but somehow he's got himself hung up on whether he can call a special session or not. He can't possibly have himself hung up on fraudulent voting. The committee has had 50 witnesses, documentary evidence, motion pictures that show fraud. Trump, I can demonstrate to you that Trump won the state by 80 or 90,000 votes at a minimum. He knows all that. He's a smart man. But he's all hung up on, can we call a special session? And that's where Professor Eastman is so important, because he explains that you have that right by virtue of the fact that this is a special power you have given to you by the United States Constitution. And it is true that some of them have had a hard time believing that, accepting.
I'm probably missing the mark, but I remember the original goal of the NDI setup was to use a 140 hertz monitor and be able to stream properly. That's right, because if I send this to my capture card and I duplicate the displays, I don't know if I can send 140 hertz stream to the capture card. Fuck, you might be right on that.
It's a little bit like I'm just a state representative.
Well, but I could use OBS. I could like right click and then send the like send a projected thing to that down the HDMI cable, maybe. I don't know.
You mean I get to choose the president? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You do. Our founding fathers put the finger of responsibility on you. This is your job.
Mayor, could you hang over just to a commercial break? I've got a couple more questions. Okay, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and did I just hear some breaking news? You're 3 or 4 votes away in the House or in the Senate in Georgia?
NDI is not the problem. It's almost certainly not a network issue. It's either the OBS plugin mismatch version or the performance issues you're having in your box. Could you just export your NDI scene config somewhere, maybe? No, yeah, I know it's not an NDI problem because I was just using it on my last setup. Something is fucked somewhere, yeah.
Say we're 3 or 4 votes away in the Senate in Georgia. And we don't know how many votes were away in the House, but we understand that Speaker Ralston, if he were to bring it to the floor,
I tell you what, we want to return with that. Mayor Rudy Giuliani, President's lawyer. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with Mayor Giuliani, Mark Serrano, Liz, you're all in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll be back in a moment.
Your host.
Next thing, we now have 160. I think we're going to 200. And I think Kevin McCarthy's going to be part of that. You know why? He's not going to have a choice. Okay. Mitch McConnell is working nonstop not to have other people stand up with the brave.
Actually, my capture card used some Elgato capture card.
Mayor, just in thinking through the critical path between now and this historic day on Wednesday, I know you're working nonstop, and by the way, everybody should know Mayor Giuliani is like putting in 20 hours a day. And Mayor, I think you're on the other side of 70. I don't want to get, I know it's not. I know you want to shave a few years off that, but you're I've never seen a guy. The president and Rudy Giuliani are insane about how hard they work and how many hours they work and how they never take a day off. Mayor, walk people through. You're actually not. One of the things people don't think understand is you're not going to be actually able to prosecute the case on Wednesday. You've actually got to do a shift. You're working state legislatures. You're working nonstop. The Hill, your team has got now doing a whipping thing that you see these guys in the Hill all standing up and saying, hey, I am Spartacus, right? I know you work in the Senate. But one of the most important things is that your voice, your guidance from Gettysburg to Phoenix to Georgia, it's always been you, right? And your team, this amazing team you've put together to argue this and to really drive this and to drive Biden now 50-50 in the American people. Think it's illegal and illegitimate. It's unbelievable. With the tech guy, the oligarchs shutting it down in Silicon Valley and mainstream media. You have to do a transition. Walk people. How are you going to do that? Are you going to brief people up? Are you going to turn things over? Are they not going to let you speak? On Wednesday, we're going to see Rudy on TV, or is it going to be Josh Hawley, Jim Jordan? What's the process?
Well, no lawyers can speak for either candidate in this kind of proceeding. And it's very much like the concluding impeachment debate, where it has to be carried by the members. And there, I think we're very fortunate. First of all, in the House, we have not only skilled lawyers, but I mean, they went through that immigration whole situation. And if you watch their development,
you mean the impeachment?
Right, impeachment. If you look at people like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz, and gosh, I mean, they are as skilled as some of the finest trial lawyers. And Hawley stepping forward, I guess he's the youngest member of the Senate, But this guy is a very, very good lawyer, Supreme Court law clerk, but also a prosecutor. He knows what he's doing. I was really glad. The only person I'd match him with in the Senate would be Lindsey in terms of legal ability and the ability, and not just legal ability, litigation ability. So yes, we're briefing them and their staffs, basically turning over the knowledge that we have to them. They'll decide what they want to use of it. But that's going pretty smoothly. We're going to have a session today. We've been working around the clock, and we have staff exchanging things. The Senate gets a little bit different because there's an awful lot of work for Josh Hawley, just Josh himself. I hope a few more join him, to
well,
take
that's
up
the case. But by the way, you've got Ted Cruz, you've got Lindsey Graham, you've got Tom Cotton from Harvard Law School. You've got some heavies over in the Senate. Where you started with one on Monday with Mo Brooks. You got 169. I think you're going to see 200 by the end of the weekend. You got one man alone with Josh Hawley. What's the probability we get some of the other heavy hitters like Ted Cruz, like Tom Cotton?
First of all, I think we're going to have a lot of support, a lot more support from a large number. I don't want to guess at a number yet, but it's going to be a lot more than people think. And in the House, we've got veterans. We have veterans of this kind of process. Andy Biggs, and I don't want to mention just a few, but Gates and Biggs and Jordan. And Jordan's a terrific trial lawyer. I mean, he ripped the bottom. I'm sorry we're missing Mark Meadows. I told him, can you go back and ask a couple of Doug Collins? And they were some of the best. But we'll be okay there. I mean, of course, I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated that I can't do it and Gemma can't do it. I mean, we know what the best.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think we're in very good hands.
Last question is you've made your name on breaking the five families. You ever saw The Sopranos? Hey, Rudy Giuliani put the five families out of business. Rudy Giuliani put the mob on Wall Street out of business. You're a legendary prosecutor. Do you believe we need a special prosecutor on this now?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe there's a RICO? Do you think there's a RICO case to actually go after? We got about 2 minutes.
Yeah, the answer is I answered it before you finished it. The answer is yes, sir. We need a special prosecutor. First of all, you're going to be plagued with conflict questions, and they'll be real ones. And second, a RICO case is not impossible, but it's a complex case to put together. And maybe in this country there are 20 people, 25 people that really have had experience in doing it. And it needs that. Wow. This is the Biden crime family case. This is not Hunter Biden. Don't fool yourself. The minute any ethical prosecutor begins looking at this, within 20 documents, you go right to Joe. Joe's the head of this, 30 years, and it gets described in one simple text.
Oh, so by the way, you're talking about the CCP. Yeah, that I want. But I'm talking about in the election fraud. Do you think there's a RICO case to build there? And do you think in the election fraud you need a special prosecutor?
Absolutely. I mean, all these guys that they're investigating have been smearing the Democratic Party for years. I mean, including some people, very, very close to the administration. You think this was just an accident? This has been going on for 4 or 5 years. This whole plan. It was actually practiced before. A lot more.
So you think you think on the election fraud? You think you think on the election fraud side? There's no doubt in your prosecutorial mind that you have a RICO case that needs a special prosecutor assigned by the Justice Department at the direction of the President of the United States to sort this out.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to go to the heart of the Democratic Party. This was not an accident. This was well thought out. It was well planned. It's going to become international in scope. And it's a very, very that is actually a much more complex case than the Biden case. The Biden case, I told you, I could get an indictment in that case in a month or two. And I'd be more than happy to prosecute it in front of any jury. I have no fear about winning that case. The election case.
Stop volunteering for stuff, Rudy. No. Okay, we're going to give your social media.
I jury in years. I used to be okay in front of the jury. Just okay. They don't have to be afraid of me. I'm just a country lawyer.
Mayor Giuliani, you're an American hero. More importantly, you're War Room Pandemic's Man of the Year for 2020. Thank you for joining us our first show of 2021. Really honored and appreciate it. Wow.
I guess I'll just have this somewhere in here. 47. Let's see, January 2nd, January 3rd. Eastman drafted the 6-page memo that imagined several scenarios of January 6th, only some of which related to Trump's victory, and started wargaming the alternatives. This is on 121, 122. Documents on file. This might be a router switch issue. Doubt it, considering that I had this exact same setup before I got my new computer. It's an issue with the new computer. There's some kind of software. It's my guess is going to be a software issue. Somehow. Jesus. You doing canvassing this time around? Maybe. We'll see. Monday afternoon, January 4th, President Trump summoned Pence to the Oval Office for a showdown. Trump and Eastman sought to convince the Vice President he had the power to refuse to count the certified electors from several states. Short and Jacob attended with the Vice President. Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, was only briefly present, leaving as the meeting started. Name of this instrument? The piano? Oh, instrumental? Time to Think by Fox Capture Plan. Maybe, probs. Actually, maybe. Okay, where are we? Was this cop justified? Okay, take a cop break.
See your hands. Let me see your hands. Get your hands in your pockets.
His hands aren't in his pockets, but okay.
Excuse me?
You're being detained, bud.
Well, what am I doing?
Take your backpack off.
Can you explain what this
Before
is
you go on the ground, take your backpack off.
I'm
Wait,
going,
have we seen this? Doesn't it get like thrown on the ground?
Sir!
Oh, maybe we haven't.
Put your hands behind your back.
This is my phone. Are you trying to move it down?
You're being detained for a minute. You're matching the description of someone trying to break into people's cars.
I'm not breaking anyone's car. Sir!
You dumb bastard. Please help me. Shut the up. Get up. Go to work.
Perhaps. I think this is an old video. Pat Cipollone. The White House counsel, Cipollone and his deputy, Pat Philbin, were shooting down a series of terrible proposals at the time. Philbin told the select committee that he considered resigning every day from approximately November 15th until the end of the administration. Philbin had researched the vice president's role in the J6 joint session and concluded that the VP had no power to affect the outcome. Cipollone agreed and informed Short and Jacob that was his opinion. Mark Meadows invited Cipollone to speak with Eastman prior to the Oval Office meeting. Cipollone told Eastman that his scheme was not something that was consistent with the appropriate reading of the law. After delivering the assessment directly to Eastman in Meadows' office, Cipollone walked to the Oval Office with the intent to attend the meeting. However, by the time the VP and his staff arrived, Cipollone was gone. Cipollone declined to testify as to what he told President Trump or why he did not attend the Oval Office meeting, but he was clear that he didn't end up attending the meeting because of something that happened after he walked into the Oval Office. Whatever happened, Cipollone maintained, was protected by executive privilege, suggesting that he was asked to leave by the president. What is clear, however, is that Cipollone had already shared his view directly with Meadows and Eastman that the proposals President Trump and Eastman were about to advocate to the vice president was illegal. During the Oval Office meeting, Eastman admits that both parts are based on the same legal theory, and Castillo's plan violates the ECA. We already know this. He's claiming there are two legally viable options. Vice President Pence could reject outright the certified electors submitted by several states, and second, he could suspend the joint session and send the disputed electoral votes back to the states. Eastman advised that the vice president had the raw authority to determine objections himself. According to Jacob, however, by the end of the meeting, Eastman was emphasizing the second option that he argued would be more politically palatable, that the more aggressive option of the vice president rejecting electoral votes outright. If VP Pence did not want to reject the electors, Eastman claimed the vice president could send the certified electoral votes back to the states for further deliberation. Eastman later conceded that both actions were based on the same underlying legal theory of the VP's power. Eastman also admitted during this meeting with the president-vice president that his proposal violated the ECA. Moreover, Eastman eventually acknowledged that the concept of vice president unilaterally rejecting electors is not supported by precedent. The Supreme Court would never endorse it. This is 154. I think we heard this is a YouTube video. Fuck. By Jacobs. Jacobs, Eastman, 9-0. We've already looked for this. I think I've linked this literally.
Mr. Jacob, you discussed and even debated this theory at length with Dr. Eastman. Did Dr. Eastman ever tell you what he thought the U.S. Supreme Court would do if it had to decide this issue?
Yes. We had an extended discussion, an hour and a half to 2 hours on January 5th.
This is on J5th.
And when I pressed him on the point, I said, John, if the vice president did what you were asking him to do, we would lose 9-0 in the Supreme Court, wouldn't we? And he initially started it, well, I think maybe you would lose only 7-2. And after some further discussion, acknowledged, well, yeah, you're right, we would lose 9-0.
Good one. First, Jacob Brody acknowledged his proposal violates several provisions of statutory law, namely the ECA. Jacob's memo explains... Oh, wait, hold on. What date was this? Marvel Eastman eventually announced recorded his reflections on the January 4th meeting in a contemporaneous memo to the Vice President. This is in his deposition. Jacob's memo confirms that Eastman admitted that his proposal violated... First, Jacob wrote... Oh, hold on. What was he referring to? Lose 09 on what? The idea that the vice president could just like reject the Electoral Count Act on some fringe idea of the 12th Amendment, allowing the vice president to just like choose the winner of the election, basically. First, Jacob wrote, Eastman acknowledged that his proposal Eastman was proposing instead that no action be taken on the surrogates from the states Eastman asserted were contested. Additionally, the ECA contains a provision that requires any competing slates of electors to be submitted to the Senate and House for debate and disposition. As Jacob noted, Eastman conceded that the alternate electors were not proper, but Eastman's proposal would still have refused to count the real electors' votes from the states. And there was no foundational problem with Eastman's plan. Oh, there was another foundational problem with Eastman's plan. There were no legitimate competing or alternate slates of electors. President Trump, Eastman, and others had manufactured the pictures they needed. Jacob noted in his memo that in the Oval Office meeting, Eastman conceded no legislature had appointed or certified any alternate slates of electors, and the purported alternate slates were illegitimate. Jacob, the vice president. Oh, Jesus Christ! Like, I'm sorry. Hi, by the end of the meeting, he conceded that he would not recommend that vice president. Thank you, sir. Eastman started the January 4th Oval Office meeting, maintaining the vice president had unilateral authority to reject electors. By the end of the meeting, he conceded that he would not recommend the VP assert that he has the authority unilaterally to decide whether if the vice president implemented Professor Eastman's proposal, he would likely lose in court. Jacob wrote, in a best-case scenario in which the court refused to get involved, the vice president would likely find himself in an isolated standoff against both houses of Congress, as well as most or all of the applicable state legislatures, with no neutral arbiter to break the impasse. At 163, what is this? Probably deposition reference.
We'll need extra napkins for that.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, be careful. National Archives production. Ooh, documents on file. Documents on file. Oh, Control F. What is this? January 5th. Oh, we already have this. Nice. Why is Gen 6 more important to you than Trump's policy platform? I don't know if it's more important than his policy platform. It's just something I think is important. Following the Oval Office meeting during the evening of January 4th, 2021, Jacob invited Eastman to send along any written materials on electoral vote counting issues, including a law review article by Lawrence Tribe that Eastman had cited in the Oval Office meeting for Jacob to review. He reviewed everything that Eastman submitted. Nothing changed his analysis. Vice President was not persuaded by Eastman's theory, remained convinced it was role in transaction. Okay. President Trump publicly pressures VP during a rally speech in Georgia, January 4th. Do I already have this? Nope. Wait, do we? Memo. January 5th. Jan 5th. Rally. Georgia. Trump. Pence. Two days ago. Nope. Before 2022. It was this, wasn't it?
U.S. President Donald
January
Trump
5th.
rallied his supporters in Georgia block Democratic presidential and for claims of a fraudulent election.
And tomorrow can be
Still face.
Trump voter fraud. Trump rally, Georgia, January 5th, 2021. This. Is this on YouTube anywhere?
By 10,000 votes. We did much better, as I said, this time. Much, much better. But I won Michigan from her by 10,000 votes. I won Wisconsin by a small, I mean, they could have done that one and not get caught. We caught them. We caught them. And I say to people like Mike Lee that are here and Lindsay, I say, if they got approved and verified, they use the word verified, vote.
Thank you.
Because I think they hate our country and they despise Georgia values. And I think a lot of you despise them. As you know, there's nothing the radical Democrats will not do.
It says on January 4th. Oh, this is January 4th. Okay, January 4th rally. Show transcript. Pence.
Crave even the outright stealing of elections like they're trying to do with us. We're not going to let it happen over the past. And I hope Mike Pence comes through for us, I have to tell you. I hope that our great vice president comes through for us. He's a great guy. Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much. Nah, Mike is a great guy. He's a
January 5th, another meeting. Eastman met with Jacob and Short again the following day. New Hassan clip.
Politics.
Oh, joy. Hold on. He met with Jacob Short again the following day during the Oval Office meeting. The vice president made clear that he would not unilaterally reject. Following morning, Eastman returned to a more aggressive path. At 11:06 a.m. on January 5th. January 5th, 2021. Trump tweet saying Pence has the power to reject electors. I think I had it right there. Okay. New Hassan clip. Yeah, we'll watch it in a second. Eastman asks Jacob to tell Pence to reject the electors completely. Let's see. Met with Jacob and Schroeder again the following day. Hirschman briefly participated in the Jan 5th meeting. $178. Transcribed interview of Hirschman. Scolded Eastman. Hirschman, opportunity, chew Eastman out, YouTube. Is this deposition? Is this part of the... I don't think this is...
Why? Others. And he started to ask me about something dealing with Georgia and preserving something potentially for appeal. I said, I only want to hear 2 words coming out of your mouth from now on. Orderly transition. Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer.
Dr. Eastman's email states
Against being compelled to be a witness against myself.
when he was in
The United States, the vice president could reject electors from 7 states and declare that the president had been reelected. Dr. Eastman, the first sentence of the memo was a...
From Eric Hirschman. Okay, well... Okay, 178. 178, page 24. You watched the video by Traveling Israeli towards Hasanabi? No, I have not. But that guy's also a little unhinged, so... Okay, Eastman met with Jacob and Schroeder the following day. During the following morning, Eastman returned to pressing for more aggressive path. Okay, 172. I want this handwritten note. What is this? Documents on file. Documents on file. 172. No? What the fuck is this guy's handwriting? What is the purpose of the... The fuck does this say? Piscas? Piscos? Rejecting VP... reciting VP reject. Like the proceeding following. Jesus Christ. President Trump's pressure campaign to testify the Vice President outside counsel Richard Cullen turned for support to John Michael Ludwig, a conservative former judge. Eastman had clerked for Ludwig more than 2 decades prior. Okay, January 5th. Trump pressures Pence in a one-on-one meeting. Okay. Gonna eat. Oh wait, we've got Hassan clips.
Politics. If you believe that the Iranian Ayatollah, okay, or Kim Jong fucking Un, or even China for that matter, represents a grave threat to American interests or America in general, but especially Kim Jong Un and especially Iran, you have been duped. Okay? This isn't to like absolve them of like their own domestic affairs and their responsibilities internally. They're not great. They're dog shit. Okay? They are autocracies. 100%.
That's just an excuse, though, for the U.S. to warmonger.
The idea that they represent a serious threat to America is insane. Okay? Also, in terms of cozying up to tyrants and autocrats and dictators, America has its fair share of Gulf monarchies that it is completely aligned with because it represents our interest in foreign policy in the region. Okay? It is ridiculous. Rare China autocracy admission? No, dude. That is not a rare China autocracy admission. There's plenty wrong with Chinese governance in terms of like restrictions on civil liberties, but no, I think considering what the Chinese system to be an autocracy is ultimately refusing to reckon with how their electoral structure works. Okay, that's it.
What?
Kamala Harris claims Kim Jong-un is rooting for Donald Trump. This is false. Trump tried to claim Kim Jong-un and endorsed them. This was North Korea's response. No matter what party takes office in the U.S., the political climate does not change. We do not care. I mean, he's right.
Wow.
Do you realize that America doesn't just represent America, right? You idiots represent the free world. What is the free world?
Uh-oh.
And how do we represent it? I don't even understand what you're trying to say here. Sam Cedar mentioned during MR's coverage of the DNC that there will be a pressure on Kamala to be tough as a euphemism for militaristic because she doesn't want to be seen as too weak to be a commander-in-chief because she's a woman. And I think that plays into this. I hate it because she should just focus on delivering the American people instead of these potential Republican attacks. Yeah, that's just silliness, though, because Hillary Rodham Clinton was one of the most bloodthirsty ghouls to run on a Democratic ticket. And she fucking lost to this asshole. Please.
Why?
Politics. If you believe that the Iranian Ayatollah, okay,
there was a
controversial. So some people would call you a controversial.
There's something about the Majority
figure
Report on
or
here.
a misunderstood individual, and that's why I wanted to interview today, because I want to get all perspectives. Being a centrist, I like to hear everyone's point of view without judgment.
This is what the Democrats should be saying.
This guy's a loser.
For anyone struggling with high blood sugar, do not drink cold water.
Oh, no. Fuck. Was it Sam Cedar or Majority Report? I don't remember what the...
It's not a lie.
You guys post so much in here. What are you guys doing? Jesus. The post is gone, I think. Wait, why would the post be gone? Oh, nice.
You know, we're talking a lot,
my God,
of course,
25 minutes. Fuck no, Christ.
about the uncommitted movement and the pro-Palestine and anti-genocide demonstrations at the DNC. The fact that they were denied a speaking slot, I mean, as of right now, the UAW has called on them to reverse course, and the squad as well. You know, we'll see what happens there, but the fact that they've already declined it makes me extremely, pessimistic about that fact.
And we should just delineate the two S's, which one was the not another bomb, which I think is the more substantial one, and then two, the second one, which I think is useful for them to have put out, because if they denied just a basic, even pro-Kamala Palestinian elected to say, hey, we need to beat Trump, but also civilians are being killed, they can't accept that. It's crazy.
Right. They can't, because, they're thinking, we don't want to highlight a weakness at the DNC. We don't want to highlight the fact that, Biden is doing this and this may piss off our base. But what the uncommitted movement is doing is saying, well, what is the trade-off here? Like, we're making it more of a liability for you to ignore us, potentially, than it would be for the rest of the base to like, in terms of it being a liability to have us up there. So that's what I'm appreciative of this like increased pressure, and it's going to continue. It's not going to die down. It's just going to ramp up. So Harris will have to be more explicit. It's just going to have to happen.
70 plus days to the election.
And that pressure is going to increase throughout that time period. And this is an example of some of the disruptions that I think are just going to continue to happen, as I keep saying. Nancy Pelosi, former House Speaker Emerita, she got that title.
Now just string puller.
Yeah, I mean, very grateful for her service over these past few months of taking Biden out like a mob boss and then cheering him on as he gives his speech. I saw somebody say this is a mob boss showing up to the funeral of the guy that he just whacked, which I appreciated. But, Nancy Pelosi signed the letter about conditioning aid to Israel after the World Central Kitchen workers were killed, assassinated by Israel, and has been kind of just like quiet on it since then. And before that, she was mainly complaining that in her home in San Francisco as a multimillionaire, that Russia was funding protests outside of her home, which is completely disconnected from reality.
But it is classic Pelosi, because if you read Ryan Grimm's book, We Got People, I believe is the first one, AOC's first meeting with Nancy Pelosi, I can't remember if it was defund the police or abolish ICE, but Pelosi's like, one of those slogans was planted by the Russians.
It's a thing, yeah. She's deranged on this. Appreciative of her from like a wielding power perspective, so that she got Biden out of the race, but in terms of ideology, don't have too much in common.
Good to know what's possible though within the party.
Good to know what's possible, and the fact that she, as the power player that she is, signed on to that letter a few months ago about conditioning aid means we can create more and more oxygen in the situation with continued pressure. And this was when she was on Stephen Colbert's show. He did this live, and protesters disrupted the interview, and Colbert pointed to them and wanted her to hear what they had to say, which I appreciated from him. So they basically ended the segment on that note. Good job. That was pablum from her. And also, as Matt said, it's an oxymoron to say that.
It's an oxymoron because they don't ever want Jews to feel safe in the Middle East.
Democratic. John Kerry, it's not just me saying it. John Kerry himself in the final years of the Obama administration said you can either be Jewish or you can be Democratic. You cannot be both. John Kerry is not an anti-Semite. He just understands that a demographic imperative for one type of person cannot coexist with an actual democracy. This is just objectivity.
Mm-hmm. You can't have a Democrat.
Just to be clear, that's not objectivity at all. You can restrict heavily your immigration for particular types of people while still having fully equal rights within your country. We do it in the United States. For any of our legal immigrant categories, only 7% can come from a country. You could argue that that's at the very least it's nationalistic, if not ethnic, depending on where they're coming from, but you can easily do this. Now, is it good? Is it bad? You can debate the merits of it, but these things are not mutually contradictory in any way, size, shape, or form.
Democratic ethno-state in a region where that ethno-state is an ethnic minority.
And even if they're a majority, like, are you going to put in a with an actual democracy? This is just objectivity.
Mm-hmm. You can't have a democratic ethno-state in a region where that ethno-state is an ethnic minority.
What Emma is just always manages to say some of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life. I have no idea who she's blackmailed in order to have this position, like pretending like she understands anything about media. But like every statement she says is just it's multi-layers of stupidity in terms of how you can't have a protected ethno-state in a region where they're an ethnic. What do you mean? What does the region have to do with it? We're talking about the country. Like, of course, they're an ethnic minority in a region, but like, wouldn't that be the only people that would need those protections? Arguably, like, would you have to take the entire Middle East and say we need protections for Arabs or Muslims? It doesn't even make sense. Like, everything she says is just so fucking stupid.
And even if they're a majority, like, are you going to put in the Constitution that this has to stay that way? Because that's the Constitution of Israel.
That's the thing is when, the two-state solution...
Israel doesn't have a constitution, just to be clear, but...
Pablum is just that, right? It's the Democrats say this line, but I always try to put it within the context of racial segregation. You couldn't have true democracy in the South in racially segregated areas, right? Like, okay.
Racial segregation is not immigration policy. Racial segregation is policy dealing with citizens that live in your country. These are two separate things.
Technically, Black people could vote, although they were second-class citizens, and in many parts of the South, there were poll taxes and other ways to prevent them from voting. But they were segregated and ruled over, though, by the same government in the same way. It's not exactly analogous.
And terror lynchings.
But it's not exactly analogous, but in the way that Israel rules over the 3 million people in the West Bank and the 2 million people in Gaza. They have governing authorities that range from either puppets in the West Bank or in terms of like Hamas in Gaza, which Gaza's been completely destroyed at this point. But, a useful foil for Likud and Netanyahu and the Israeli government, which is why for nearly 20 years, Netanyahu and the Israeli government has propped Hamas up in Gaza because like they have a puppet government in the West Bank, and then in Gaza they have a group that they can say they're terrorists and they're incompatible with peace.
Yeah, basic divide and conquer.
So they rule over these people's lives, but they have no say in it, right? And when you put it in those terms, I wish that, and hopefully the conversation eventually gets there, how can you be democratic when you're segregating this country and this region by...
The conversation will never get there because this is a retard talking point made by retards for retards about nothing. This segregation is wrong, and that has to do with how you treat citizens within your country. That's fundamentally different than immigration policy. These two things are totally different things. Arguably, they don't even relate to each other. So the conversation will never advance there because it's a stupid talking point.
Eventually gets there. How can you be democratic when you're segregating this country and this region by race and ethnicity and religion? How can you be democratic when Israel gets almost all of the land along the sea, which is extremely important for trade and prosperity, and then they're trying to take the rest of it in the Gaza envelope at this moment by destroying it and then settling it?
Is that what's going to happen?
Pushing all the Palestinians into the desert is not a just solution, and that's what a two-state solution...
How many have been pushed into the desert? Into the Sinai, right? That is the desert you're talking about, right? Is that happening?
...is in reality.
Well, I think in this case, democratic is just a coded term for civilized. They're trying to draw the distinction between Israel, a civilized country, and their neighbors, Muslim.
What if they're just talking about like the style of government, though, and that actually perfectly maps on one-to-one with exactly what we're talking about? Why do we need to pretend? Why do we have to make like an analogy or pretend it stands for something else? Maybe it just stands for exactly what it means because that's exactly what it is.
Term for civilized. They're trying to draw the distinction between Israel, a civilized country, and their neighbors, Muslim countries, which are inherently uncivilized, by making democracy, part and parcel of that civilization. Even though they don't have a democracy, even though a lot of the things that they gesture towards, like
they don't have a democracy,
LGBTQ rights, are superseded by their ethno-religious reality of Israel, they still use those terms because they know it's going to appeal to Americans broadly, and then they add extra things like the LGBTQ rights that Israelis enjoy, I guess, that are supposedly excluded from Muslims in other countries to appeal to liberals specifically.
Supposedly, Muslims in other countries don't champion LGBT rights. Supposedly.
But the two-state solution, I mean, we're just far past that point. The West Bank is Swiss cheese due to settler violence, settler colonial violence that continues unabated to this day. I think also the ceasefire, people aren't really being realistic about what that would take or what that would mean, because for a large contingent of Israelis, Netanyahu included, and just the far right there generally, at this point, ceasefire is more or less an end to their state, because the moment the bombs stop dropping on Gaza is the moment that the human rights start doing investigations. And so I think the Democrats are trying to take this posture that it's possible to have a ceasefire and for Israel to continue to exist in the way that it wants to exist, when that's just not the case. Like they just cannot have a ceasefire. Their goal is to get Americans involved so that there can be muting of that human rights investigation after, because then America might be implicated in it, which I mean we already are. So
that's 100% right. And just to quickly borrow from Kamala Harris herself, we're not going back. There's no way that we're going back to a reality that's before October 7th in the way that both internationally, besides the United States, the relationship is fundamentally changed with Israel. And there's no way to go back and for people to forget seeing one of the worst crimes in the history of the world being perpetrated on live stream in front of us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Biden being asleep at the wheel allowed this to get out of control, even from not just a moral standpoint, which this should have never been allowed to happen in the first place. And by that happen, I mean the systemic oppression of Palestinians at the hand of the Israeli government. But the genocide getting to this point, there really is no turning back. And it also deeply implicates the American foreign policy agenda for what it actually is, which is a neo-colonial, neo-imperialist agenda. For a while there, America was able to define its foreign policy by assisting Ukraine in its, in its defense of its own borders from Russia. Now, I think this is more, indicative of what America actually is, which is genocide supporting,
our country was built on genocide. I mean, we should be explicit that America would not exist without the genocide of Native Americans. Yeah. So but we don't have that in our national imagination because we pretend like we have all this free press and things like that. But people don't ever, our history books don't reckon with what we've done to the indigenous population here, which is why there's...
Yes, true. No, there's nothing about that in the history books. You're so right, Queen.
So many people, honestly, in power that are okay with and in fact in favor of Israel doing the same in the modern day. It's a test of our moral progress, and we have failed spectacularly.
Well, we failed to reckon with the genocide of Native American people.
As opposed to all those European countries and African countries and Asian countries. Famously, America is the only country to ever do genocide ever. Remember Genghis Columbus Khan when he rampaged through North America, raping and murdering and pillaging all of the poor Native Americans.
We failed to reckon with slavery. We failed to reckon with just the mountain of corpses that America was built on, and Israel is relying on that to justify its own modern day slaughter. But the exactly. I mean, and ultimately, just within the West, we have positioned certain genocides as being necessary to the foundation of a Western social order. And so we might acknowledge, DNC might start with a land acknowledgement, but that's only to give lip service to a past that had to be removed in order for us to be here today, not to acknowledge that we should not be here the way we are.
Right.
And this stuff, and the one thing I sort of blanch at sometimes from folks criticizing the current Israel policy is to say this is like something we haven't seen. Abu Ghraib and Fallujah, that isn't disconnected. We didn't really get the full story of the type of torture that happened at Abu Ghraib. I don't take Seymour Hersh's word at complete face value on really anything these days, but I do think that is true. That we didn't feel there was a full investigation of that sort of thing. And those sorts of the Sede Taman, the rape camp that was protested by pro-Israel or by Israelis saying hey, keep this place open. I'm sorry, we did all that stuff in recent history too, and we just don't have as much of a look over it. I mean, and look, I know that some members don't want to say don't compare us to the IDF, but it is not as big of a change as people say, or big of a, and part of the reason.
What did you say? We're going to nuke Toronto or something like that? It's just unbelievable.
She was like, if Toronto tried to bomb Buffalo, we would nuke the shit out of those Canadians.
Flatten it.
My God.
We bounced the rubble in Ottawa.
I think she said bounce the rubble.
No, I don't know. If
we should look at the actual.
We should look it up.
She said something along the lines of if Canada tried to invade Buffalo or something, that we would take the whole military might of America in response or something.
We expect hopefully someday to replace her in power. With every passing year, we are postponing the inevitable. One-state reality. That's just what it is. Two-state solution is just like ceasefire when coming out of these people's mouths. It is a lie, killing time.
Well, as is democracy, as Brandon pointed out, in the sense that we prop up theocrats throughout the Middle East so that we can exploit that region, and we've been waging a neo-colonial, bombing campaigns there for decades because of the resources and things like that. We say we promote democracy, but it's only like the veneer for Israel, which is a substitute for civilization, because we actually prop up dictators in that region almost exclusively. I mean, Sisi is not somebody who is a...
We prop up dictators exclusively? Wait a second. Wait. The only people we have to prop up in the Middle East are dictators? Hold on. Are we... Whoops. Did we accidentally stumble upon some maybe truth about the region there? By mistake, maybe?
Human rights advocate who the United States is sending, what I think they may be the second largest recipient of our military aid, if not the largest. They're close up there, but even, are the kings in Jordan, our relationship with Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. We rely on anti-democracy in this region for our foreign policy. This is what Matt was referring to here.
Yeah, and this is from, you can also find it if you don't subscribe to New York Review books in his essay collection, When the Facts Change, which is also worth picking up.
We barely support democracy at home, so I don't see how we could possibly be expected to support democracy abroad. You guys don't even get
which is also worth picking up.
We barely support democracy at home, so I don't see how we could possibly...
Sure, we barely have democracy in America. How do people listen to this drivel? It's the same shit every day. America bad, America horrible, slavery, genocide, we're so bad. Everybody we support is so bad and horrible. It's just got to be. I mean, I guess people do it.
Democracy abroad. You guys don't even get the day off to vote.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I'll lighten the mood by reading an IM. It's not even that light. From Vaughn from Wisconsin. Emma, to be fair, Israel is doing as much as it can to not oversee that many Palestinians, which is true.
The one-state reality.
Yep. Vinny P says, what do you think the ultimate solution is? I assume Matt just answered it. But I assume a two-state solution is a temporary measure, but how do you balance the rights of indigenous Palestinians and Israelis who are so hostile? It must be imposed on them. Go ahead, Brennan.
No, yeah, exactly. It has to be imposed on them for all the times that America should be doing regime change. I know I just accuse the liberals of waiting for a good reason, but this is one of those situations where, an international body of countries needs to step in and ensure that Israel becomes an integrated, fair state.
Wait a second. Do you remember me? I used this talking point. I thought this was a cute, clever talking point for a debate once. I think I got this from an emailer that we're so opposed to regime change. Not Saddam Hussein, who, tortured and murdered for however fucking long, invaded neighboring countries, gassed, chemical weapons, right? That's not okay for regime change. Bashar al-Assad, chemical weapon attacks on his own people, civil war, been destroying this country for a decade. That's not okay for regime change. Houthis down in Yemen, that's not okay for regime change. Ayatollah, that's not okay. IRGC, okay, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Quds forces causing chaos all over the region, that's not okay for regime change. Hamas attacking in Gaza, that's not okay. None of these are okay for regime change. The Israeli government, though, Netanyahu, that needs an international coalition. They need to get Libya yesterday, okay? That needs to immediately... He did that. I had this talking point, I think, like a couple months ago at a debate. Oh, I'm glad he's actually saying it now. Nice.
Go ahead, Brennan.
No, yeah, exactly. It has to be imposed on for all the times that America should be doing regime change. I know I just accuse the liberals of waiting for a good reason, but this is one of those situations where, you know, an international body of countries needs to step in and ensure that Israel becomes an integrated, fair state. Because the way they are now, as Matt has said, the governing party of Israel and a decent portion of the population believes that an integrated state is the same thing as being ethnically cleansed themselves. This is like the reality of like the myth of white genocide as well, where like simple integration means death to them. And
it's never mind. Why am I even responding to this?
So they are executing a genocide of their own, and that's something that simply can't be allowed to be proliferated.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing is the fortunate thing about the remaining population, which Israel is trying to remove from that situation, is that if you just extended one person, one vote, it would actually still have some bite to it democratically in a way that, for instance, doing that, we can't do that because of the 90% of Native Americans who were wiped out in our genocides, right? These like it can't just obviously we can't just say it was one state, it just be anarchy. Well, because the people with the most guns and military personnel would be Israelis. They would. I mean, what's going on in West Bank right now?
Yeah.
You know. But one person, one vote. And then if any Israelis don't like that, then America and Europe should accept them as refugees like they should have the first goddamn time 75 years ago, instead of saying, hey, actually, we got a better idea than you coming here because we can't handle all y'all. How about you go to a colonial outpost that we're going to use to disrupt the Middle East for the next 75 years? Like, I think there's plenty of Israelis who do not want to live in one person, one vote with Palestine.
That's exactly the foundation of Israel was the West saying like, oh my God, let's fuck with the Middle East and use Jews to do it. Based.
Palestinians, and yeah, you know what? Then you don't live in that part of the world anymore.
Go back.
Sorry.
I mean, then I know we have.
What was she about to say? Go back. She wants to call him she wants to drop that K slur so bad. God, I wish we could have like the purge, except it's for slurs. We just have one day where we're allowed to say whatever, and nobody can cancel you for what you say on that day. God, she wanted to say it so bad. Racist, dude. People on the left, or these tankies at least, or sometimes they're the most racist people. They just want to drop these slurs so bad. She was about to say it. She was about to say, "Go back to," and then she's like, "Oh fuck, I can't."
Like, I think there's plenty of Israelis who do not want to live in one person, one vote with Palestinians, and yeah, you
Tough
know what?
shit.
It's then you don't live in that part of the world anymore.
Go
and
back.
Sorry.
I mean, then I know we have to get to other like.
She's like, I can't say that. That's too much. Fuck. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I can't say that.
I said we'd get to calls, and it's nearly 2:00. So, but you can end here, Brandon, if you don't.
Go back where? Where was she gonna say? What was she gonna say? Go back to Europe? Go back to Germany? Go back to Auschwitz? Was she gonna say go back to the United States? Well, that really wouldn't make any sense. Go back to where? What was go back to Russia? Into the east, where they carved that little oblast out, or whatever. I don't even know where it was for where it's like.
No, I mean, like, that's the fear, though. Like, they're afraid of an integrated society because ultimately, you know, it's not impossible for racism and bigotry to proliferate in societies that are integrated, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to, you know, raise your kids to be racist if they go to school with kids of a different race and they play with them. It's a lot harder to raise your kids to, you know, look at people as lesser when their friends are those people. That's how a lot of people, you know, turn themselves around. They have kids who are LGBTQ, where they, you know, finally meet someone on their job who is like a person of color or at college, and they go, oh, wow, I just was full of bigotry before. And that's what they're afraid of, too. Like, because again, their ideology positions that.
Remember, in case you forgot, there are 2 million Arabs that live in Israel. Just
as a degradation of their project, of their ethno-nationalist project, which again also excludes lots of Jewish people too. You see that online all the time. You see them exclude not just Jewish people because of their race, but Jewish people because of their political opinions.
I'm sorry, what? Are you not allowed to make Aliyah or whatever the fuck? Are you not allowed? Do you not get right of return if you don't vote for Netanyahu? Is that part of the pledge? Wait, what? I'm so sorry. What are we talking about there? What was that a reference to? I must have missed a talking point.
Jewish people, too. You see that online all the time. You see them exclude not just Jewish people because of their race, but Jewish people because of their political opinions.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit.
Why'd that guy say LGBTQ? Israel's very okay with gay people? Trust me, I know. Tel Aviv was the gayest city I've ever been in my life. Okay. I will be back tomorrow, normal time. Stay safe. Be careful. Rip Barbino Cappuccino. Wait, did I do? Oh, I did a podcast this morning with the Huey Lee guy, which was cute. He's a cool dude. Is anything happening in the next couple days? No, just normal streams. Okay, be careful. Connection's ready to. I love you. Don't die. Or die. I don't care. Contexto. This game takes me fucking forever. Contexto. We'll do one of these. We'll see if we can do one of these real quick. Employment, job, fire. Did I do boss already? Boss, manager? CEO? Owner? Building, office, job, owner, manager. Job, owner, manager. Job, owner, manager, fire. Hire? Hiring? We did employment already. Paycheck. Pay. Ooh, wage. Compensate. Contract. Contractor. Payment. Deposit. Bank. Direct. Money. Cash. We did paycheck. Paycheck. Pay money. Deposit. Direct. Bank. We already have all those. Wage. Salary. Pay money, job, hire. Pay money, job, hire. Pay money, job, hire. Fire? Oh, we already have that. Pay money. Contract, contractor. HR. Human resources. We already did office. Cubicle, space, office space, building. We already got management. Commercial. Pay resident, no. Residential, none of these. Pay money, office, CEO, executive, board, investor, investment. We need cash, paycheck, pay money, credit, credit card. That's a thing. Damn, pay money, job, hire, owner, compensate. Think. Owner, compensate. Pay, money, job, hire, owner, compensate. Pay, money, job, hire, owner, compensate. Pay, money, job, hire, owner. Electricity. Boom. No. Bills? Did we do this? Bill. Payment? Payment, pay. Compensate. We already did that. Fuck. I need to get out of here. Hiring, firing. Pay, money, job, hire, owner, compensate, credit. One more minute. 7:02, if I don't have anything, then fuck it. Pay, money, board, office, chair. Chief. We already did executive, officer, office, all this. Office, officer, office, pay. Fuck. We're doing a hint. Definitely. What? Certain? Certainly? Certain? Approved? Approval? Okay, one more. Thought? Afraid. Fear? Bankrupt? No, because bankruptcy would be much. Broke? Rich? No. Broke, rich, afraid, thought. Worry? Anxiety? No, oh my god. Depression? Depressed? Bear? No, bear market. Wait, no, bear market is like the animal bear and bull. Bear and bull, right? Obviously. Bro, kill me. Blunder? What? Mistake? How is mistake? Money, job, hire. Cringe. You pay for a mistake? Still cringe. All right. Don't die.